Public relations, the publicist. It has a mixed image in popular culture. I can think way back to the Sweet Smell of Success with Tony Curtis portraying a sort of a slimy PR consultant doing all sorts of unethical issues, but that's the past. Public relations can, in fact, be a force for good. Our guest today is the founder and CEO of Publicity for Good. It's a purpose driven communications firm. She works with clients who she thinks are helping the world, and she helps spread the message by getting publicity. I am very happy to bring to the show today Heather Holmes, the founder of and the CEO of Publicity for Good. Heather, thanks for joining us today.
Yeah, I'm so excited to be here, and we're sharing it to my LinkedIn followers too. So I'm excited just to learn more and, pour into your community.
Yeah. Heather, we have a popular culture that idolizes the idea of being able to work from home, make a seven-figure income, not have a boss, have plenty of money, live where you want to live, have a family, have a real life, have kids, have a spouse. A lot of people talk about that. Not many people do it. Yes, there are people who don't have a boss, they're unemployed. Yes, there are people who make a lot of money, seven-figure income, but most of the ones I know who are doing that are slaves to a Wall Street job and they never see their family. You're doing it all. How did you do it?
Oh my gosh. It's not easy and it's messy for sure. But I first got my start as a publicist. I worked at an advertising agency doing PR. Okay. And I've been doing PR for almost 13 years. So I'm one that is obsessed with the craft of getting people in the media. I was at the agency for 3.5 years. Everything we were doing for our brands was very archaic, meaning we would have brands pay our agency a lot of money to manage social media. But then I did not understand, how do I, as a 20-something-year-old, have more followers than these big brands who are paying our agency a lot of money? You add that. Typically, you're right. Like, when you work for an ad agency, it's 20-hour days. It's toxic, right? It's around the clock. And I wanted to find a different way. So June 15, 2015, I quit. I moved home to my mom's basement. I got a minimum wage job at Lifetime Fitness. It's a gym, an incredible gym. I slowly started building my PR agency. And I literally worked at the gym while building my agency. And I literally worked at the gym and built my agency for 3 years. I didn't leave the gym until I was, probably at like $3,000 to $5,000 a month, right? And then the year of the pandemic was our first $1 million year. And what happened is, I moved to San Diego for a press tour, and I stayed. I was about 25. I ended up living in San Diego. San Diego is great for business. Mm-hmm. There's so many.
Hey, Heather, apologies. We always like to make our guests look the absolute best they can.
Yeah.
Would you mind looking at your camera? I think you're looking at the screen. So it seems like you're ignoring it. And I know you're not ignoring it. So if you wouldn't mind doing that. Because I do want to point out, having checked out your website, we're going to show this later. I love the fact that you're showing video testimonials from actual clients. It's something I stress to people for years. And what I've found is those of you my age, 10 years younger than I am, 20 years younger than I am, you're going to need to leave the room now. But Heather, what I found is people under 35 still think video is some crazy exotic thing where you have to hire a Hollywood production crew and it's therefore impossible. And they never put video testimonials from their clients on. I love the fact that you did that. So we're going to put a spotlight on that in a few minutes. We see Adam has joined us. Adam, if you have questions, others watching, if you have questions for Heather on the state of publicity, how to get more publicity for your own business, how to get media placements, you can go ahead and post your comments in the chat, regardless of whether you're on YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, Twitch. We're here for you. You can actually come on and share the screen with us. I see Adam has joined us in the green room. If you do have a question, Adam, you can put the camera on or type in the question and let us know what that is. Now, Heather, you're not an old timer like I am. I started working at Ketchum Public Relations in 1985. But
That's so cool.
13 years is still a long time. There's been a tremendous change in the PR landscape. I mean, 13 years ago, I don't know any author who wouldn't have, cut off their arm to get on Oprah Winfrey or to get on the Today Show
Yeah.
because boom, that major. Well, today there is no Oprah show, at least on broadcast TV. And most authors I know would say, given a choice between going on the Today Show or having their own YouTube channel that's got 20,000 regular followers, they'd much rather have their own YouTube show, or they'd much rather be on a podcast that is the most respected podcast in
Yeah.
their niche. So you've seen tremendous change in the industry in your 13 years. What's been the biggest change that you see? And I also want to know, where do you think things are going in the next 5 years?
Sure. So much has evolved over the years. If we look at big media companies, there's an editorial department and an e-commerce department. So if you're a product-based brand and you want to feature in men's health, 8 of the 10 features typically have an affiliate link. So there's definitely been a change to move over to metrics. So media members are looking at what's trending, right? What's the search volume for this story? And they're utilizing that as part of their metrics. So that's really the first difference.
Let's dig deeper on that, because I want to make sure I'm understanding carefully.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say I were your client and I said, hey, I've got my new online public speaking course. It's $1,000. Can you pitch Men's Health has been nice enough to quote me several times in the past. Mm-hmm. Can you get them to do a profile article of me, and a part of your pitch be, hey, we have an affiliate link, and every person who buys the course from your link, Men's Health will get $200. Is that a part of the publicist pitch now, or does that instantly put you in the advertising category where they want you to buy time?
So there's 2 different separate entities. So the editorial department works with the e-commerce department, meaning they want to maximize their articles. So yes, they would include an affiliate link to buy your course. They want to see that. And they have databases and they'll search to see who has an affiliate link. On the separate side, there are way more sponsored articles, sponsored posts, people selling articles. That's a new change as well. People selling their time.
Can I apologize for interrupting, but I find this fascinating, and I don't know what the answer is. Mm-hmm. When you as the publicist are pitching someone to mm-hmm. Men's Health or any publication, are you now using as a part of your pitch, hey, your e-commerce department is going to love the fact that we have this affiliate link? Is that a part of your pitch?
It is, but it's also saying, hey, this many people are searching, looking at Google and Google Trends, like 1 million people last month searched for this topic. So we in our pitches too.
Okay. Mm-hmm. And then how much of your time is creating a sponsored article and then just buying the time, which, has been around forever. I remember, mobile did that, full page ads in the New York Times 40 years ago. So it's not necessarily something new, but you're right, more and more online publications are doing it. And that's kind of the fine line. Is it PR? Is it advertising? What is it? How much of what you're doing for clients now is you're buying the space for sponsored content?
So 110% of everything we do is all earned media. So emailing producers, texting them, emailing them, building relationships, building an incredible relationship with one producer in one media market and sending them ideas for the next 90 days. It's harder. It takes a lot more time and hustle, but I love earned media. And it's really based on relationships. We have gotten people on the Today Show and Entrepreneur, but it takes time. And your story has to be special enough. And that's not a mean thing or ego thing, but a lot of times it's a timing thing. Like on a personal level, I've been in the media 700 plus times. My story has evolved over time, right? Like my dad died of cancer when I was in high school. So the first set of my publicity locally was supporting the Lung Cancer Association and what that meant to me. But I didn't even have a business. I was just promoting a cause I cared about. Then a couple years later, I was a part of the Miss International system. I was Miss Ohio, and I was doing a bunch of Ohio media, TV, radio, print. I probably did like 20 plus interviews. And I was going on as Heather, but I was talking about why businesses need to add a for good component to their business. And my company, Publicity for Good, was mentioned, but it was not an advertisement about Publicity for Good, right? And then,
So I want to make sure I'm understanding it. You had started
yeah,
your publicity firm while in the pageant world?
I slowly, and I did the pageant
Okay.
as a way to reach more people and have a platform.
And pageants are an interesting, there's a lot of contention and debate. We won't get into that, but disclosure, I've trained a couple, Miss Universes, Miss USA, Miss Teen USA, and a lot of pageant winners in European pageants. And I'm not discounting criticisms of the pageant world, but I can tell you, we do live in a world now where so many young men, boys, get so much publicity for high school basketball, college football, college basketball, and there still are not as many media opportunities for women. One of the things the pageants do is they really give a lot of opportunities for media coverage for women, and some of them give training through people like me for training. So it is an opportunity to get a lot of exposure earlier in your career. I mean, people forget that Oprah Winfrey was Miss Tennessee and Diane Sawyer was a Miss USA. I can't remember if she was a winner or third place, but did very well in the pageant world. So some good grounding there, and just facing your nerves and speaking to people when most young people think that would be the last thing in the world they would want to do.
For sure. But it's definitely a good experience to get your name out there, to support a mission that you care about, and honestly build relationships with some incredible women who honestly want to make a difference. So that was like one of my media stories. And then the pandemic hit and COVID happened. And I was living full time in a 23-foot Airstream with my husband. And I was like, okay, we were living in an Airstream, and it's one of those silver travel trailers that are very
Those are fancy.
And I'm like, I'm a publicist. We're living full time in an Airstream. Like we have a really cool story, like living full time in an Airstream during the pandemic. And at the time, we were a 6-figure business. And when the pandemic hit in March, we lost like 60% of our revenue because people were so unsure and they didn't want to invest in PR, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I pitched myself
to. Or they wanted to, and their business plummeted and they had no money.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. So I pitched myself to the media, and, it is based on timing. But before this, I had hundreds of local interviews, podcasts. It wasn't like I showed up on WGN News TV, which their reach is bigger than Good Morning America or Fox News or Business Insider. It's not like it happened overnight. I had interviews for them to watch. So that was probably 5 years of me being in the media before national media was the right thing. But a lot of it was timing, in that the world would provide an opportunity for me to be in the media based on my story. So I'm saying all good things take time. You need to get local media and interview practice before you go on the main stage. You don't want to look like a one-hit wonder. And things happen in the world that provide an opportunity for your story to be amplified and take the national stage. So a lot of it is based on timing as well.
We're speaking to Heather Holmes. She is the founder and CEO of Publicity for Good, a purpose-driven communications firm. She's sharing with us secrets and her own analysis of the modern media landscape, PR, social media, and the interrelationship. You can check out her website. Ben, my colleague, if you could put in, or we already have it, so we do have some of your links here, but it's publicityforgood.com. I'm going to be sharing some elements of that because I do think that, so many publicists talk about what best practices are, And then you go to their own website, and it's the classic case of the cobbler's children wear no shoes. they have they have no testimony. Forget video testimonials. They don't have any testimonials. And they're like, oh, yeah, we're busy working on clients. So many publicists take the attitude of, well, I want all the spotlight to be on my clients, not me. I always thought that was short-sighted, because if you can't do it for yourself, why should anyone trust you to do it for them? And if you don't believe in publicity, why should anyone else believe in
Yeah.
publicity? So I have to applaud you for that. And just, your willingness to say yes to us and spend time with us, I think is great, because so many people in the publicity world say, no, we're not going to do that. I'm going to pull up your website in a minute. But before I do that, I want to get your sense of where this is all going. Because again, I grew up in a time period where, a little ahead of my time, but someone like a Wayne Dyer can
Yeah.
write a book, Your Erroneous Zones. He's completely unknown.
Yeah.
No newsletter, no list, no name ID, no fame, no nothing. A book that maybe it wasn't a self-published, but a small publisher. He somehow got on The Tonight Show with Johnny Carson at a time when tens of millions of people watched The Tonight Show. Boom! His book took off, bestseller, and that made his entire career. He published 50 books. He was rich and famous the rest of his life. And I like him. I'm not saying that as anything negative. Those days are gone.
Yeah.
Those days are absolutely gone. In a sense, it's never been easier to get publicity and get in front of someone, because there's no gatekeepers, because anyone can host a YouTube show and have an Instagram account and blog and Facebook. But in a sense, it's never been harder, because it's harder to actually build enough of an audience to get to the point where it's very meaningful.
Mm-hmm.
What are you seeing as the biggest trends that you're trying to stay ahead of right now in this whole attention game?
So it's everything, as there are so many independent websites that are privately owned that you can write for, right? Like, the legacy media will always be here, but there's been a lot of consolidation. So there is way more independent websites. There's Rumble. There's people starting their own media companies. So there is such an opportunity for you as an entrepreneur to get in the media. There's platforms that you can write on and become a contributor, right? So we're definitely trying to stay ahead of those trends. When I think of public relations, it's also looking at, doing an Instagram live. It's also looking at YouTube. It's also looking at micro influencers, getting influencers to talk about your brand. And then where I'm extremely passionate about is, well, how do you integrate it into your marketing? What does that look like? And what is the next steps to really build, a brand that is seen as an industry leader? Because to me, it just starts in this moment of doing the interview. From when I get this interview and it's done, I have a promotion plan in place. I'm going to promote it. I'm going to utilize this content.
Yes.
So, like, that's where I'm really passionate. And part of the reason, kind of going back to what you said about doing interviews, is I like to do a lot of these interviews to be in the shoes of my clients, to feel their stress. Like, I have 2 kids under 2. I have 1 on the way, like all those things that come with it, the mess. Like, I want to understand it so I can better coach them through it, right? I always want to get better too. But the reason why this is so valuable is, on this podcast, with you today, I should get 30 pieces of content. So you have to post on social media.
And you are, and I mean this as a compliment, but your life story, how you started, what you just said, you're sounding more and more to me like Gary Vaynerchuk, who is someone I follow a lot, and I'm just guessing he may be someone that you have some respect for.
Love him.
Because he's certainly he suggests you should have 245 pieces of content every single day, but he's got 27 full-time people working for him. Yeah. So I don't do that much, but I am a big believer in putting out a lot of content. There's no doubt about that. And I'm interested in knowing how you would do that. I think that would be a very interesting case study for our audience. But I do want to put a spotlight on your website, because again, when I went to it earlier today, I thought, okay, there's nothing special about this as far as what people say in books you should do. But if I actually go to people's website, it's very special because most people just don't do it. They just don't do it. And I'm always shocked when I see companies, entire companies that are based on like communication and video communication, and they don't even have video on their website talking about what they do. Now, again, this is the website publicityforgood.com. I know I saw it earlier. Where are your video testimonials?
It should be under our clients and then testimonials.
Yeah,
I believe.
Which a pretty logical place to put something.
Yeah, it should be under testimonials.
Yeah, and so there they are. A prospect popcorn and publicity for good. So would that be a good one to show, or would you rather I show?
Yeah, I mean, it's a great one. Now, okay. I have the benefit of this in that they have their own production crew.
Okay.
So highly like created, and that was a blessing. Most of my other ones are just selfie videos or I record on Zoom.
And there's a role for both.
Yes.
I mean, my only qualm with showing the fancy, highly produced ones, people are like, well, I can't do that, so I don't bother. And sometimes just a simple cell phone in front of someone saying how you benefited them and helped their business a lot can be the most meaningful thing. You know what I forgot? I want to just make sure I hit the settings correctly. So I'm going to start over. I'm going to share my screen. I've got my audio system on. With StreamYard, sometimes there's two buttons you have to push to get the audio, so it's sometimes forgotten. So let's just take a look at this a minute and see what we think.
The Prospector is a nonprofit dedicated to providing meaningful, competitive, and inclusive employment for people with disabilities. So through the mission of competitive and inclusive employment, we have a first-run movie theater here in Ridgefield, Connecticut, where we show all new movies, and there's so many kinds of jobs within the movie theater. We also have a popcorn business, Prospector Popcorn. It's an online e-commerce business, and just like a movie theater, there's so many jobs within one bag of popcorn.
Prospector has the commercial kitchen where we make everything, the baking and cooking process to the packaging. Everything is done in-house. Certain prospects have different strengths or sparkle. We really like to accommodate anyone who would love to be in the kitchen, that it can only make our team stronger.
Since opening in 2014, we've had so many people reach out to us asking, how do we have your sparkle here in my state? How do we share what you're doing? What's the secret recipe? We believe we have the most delicious, tastiest popcorn on the planet. And we believe that there's so much sparkle that can be shared within one bag. And we needed help to share that reach across the country. So we were able to find a firm called Publicity for Good. And Heather and her team has been instrumental in helping get our brand and mission out into the public eye.
When I started here about 6 months ago, I would describe gourmet popcorn as a well-kept secret. We made a lot of changes to the site and the way we operate, but we decided it was time to bring in outside help. When you're in the gourmet popcorn business, National Popcorn Day, January 19th, it's like your Super Bowl. And on that day, we had 2 live television appearances and traffic spiked. In terms of sales, we had about 3,000% growth over National Popcorn Day last year. We've reached out to 80 media outlets. We've generated 50 new backlinks, and our search spike is actually sustained at about 20% growth since we started working with them.
And we make about minimum 4 batches a day, which the average yield would be about 350 bags a day. And then we make many different flavors. We have our standard flavors and our #1 seller, which we have to make, which is the Belgian chocolate toffee. And we usually have to drizzle about 6 to 8 trays a day.
So working with PFG has been smooth since the very beginning. We started in early January. Within the first month, we've already been booked on CBS and local Connecticut stations. We've been featured on Pure Wow's website for top 14 Valentine's Day gifts. So they've been doing a lot of work. And their company, they're all about brands with a purpose. So they understand that it's not just about the product that we're selling, it's about our mission behind it.
Wow. So really very powerful. What I especially liked is it wasn't just, oh, we got a lot of publicity. They're great. I really like that you specifically tied it in to metrics of growth, specific numbers of placements, specific outlets, specific outreach, lots of specificity. Because let's face it, a lot of us in the PR business like to kind of just talk about smoke and mirrors. And we don't always like to have all of our work held to a strict accountability. So
Mhm.
I like what you put in there. This does bring up a big question that I think some of our viewers have, and that is just as a time management standpoint.
Mhm.
How do you manage the time to do your own PR and your own website and do that and have seven-figure clientele
Mhm.
without having some big office and having to manage 50 employees and all the headaches for that and working 18-hour days? How do you scale a business, number one, and how do you manage all the things of family,
Mhm.
your own publicity and website? Because I see so many young PR firms, or not young, but smaller, less than 50 people PR firms, they just let that slide.
Mhm.
And scaling up to major growth. How do you do that?
So it's a couple of things. It's making it a priority and putting it on my calendar. That's the first thing. The second thing is I want to understand what the experience will be for clients. I want to build a relationship with you so that you say yes to amazing clients that we serve. I want to know what the experience will be like for my clients. So to me, I'm creating opportunities and relationships for our amazing clients. Like that's part of the reason why I do this. I do have a full-time team helping me. When I started, we were virtual. We do have an office in North Carolina, but we got the office because at the time we were living full-time in the Airstream and we needed somewhere to go outside of the Airstream. So we have an amazing office in Morganton, but of course we're not paying New York City and LA prices. So
how big is your team now?
So we're a full-time team of 30.
Oh, wow, you are big. Okay, I didn't realize you were that big.
Full-time only working for Publicity for Good. We also, because we're so passionate about making PR accessible, in that not every brand or person has 5,000 to 10,000 a month to invest in PR. But I've seen PR, build a business, build a brand, bring in sales, build a community, right? I'm really passionate about making PR a little more accessible. So we created a service and a software called Raptor to make PR more accessible. So we're a full-time team of 30, also have some full-time developers because we wanted to create a subscription model for PR that was 80% of what you would typically pay an agency with just the same benefits. So.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And our colleague Janice has just stopped by. And Janice, we're happy to bring you back in if you have questions for Heather, and forgive us if we dropped off. We are live with Heather Holmes. She's sharing her secrets on how to do publicity, how to build a publicity business, how to manage a publicity business, all sorts of fascinating insights here. Is your subscription service model up and running, or is that still in development?
Yeah, it's up and running. It's called Signal Raptor. We haven't really started promoting it on social media because we've just invited old clients or people we're in a sales call with that really don't have, revenue to justify in 5,000 or above. But yeah, and I'll give you it so you can put it in the show notes. But I'm very excited about what we're doing for brands and individuals and entrepreneurs who want PR, but they should not be investing thousands of dollars a month.
Yeah. What is your advice to a new company? Let's say it's someone, they started a home business, they're getting some traction, maybe they had their first six-figure year, they've kept expenses really low. Yes, they've got a Facebook page, they have a LinkedIn page, and let's say they have some kind of, let's say it's a home decor business where it's a combination of in-person stuff, but they also have designs that they sell online and Etsy and places like that. Tell me where I'm wrong. Where I would tell someone like that is to focus, a couple of hours a day creating content whether it's for YouTube, whether it's Facebook, whether it's Instagram. Build an audience, a community of people who love your stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Do that first. Spend money on that, whether you need an extra camera, a little better microphone. Build a community first, because what I have found, the easiest way to get traditional media attention
Mm-hmm.
is to have a huge following. And I think back to Gary Vaynerchuk. I mean, he got so much media attention on The Tonight Show and Ellen DeGeneres because his TV wine library was so new and fresh at the time when he started that some 18 years ago. It is funny, you go back to that show now, and I think, oh, it must have 1 billion views and 1 billion. I mean, its total audience is pretty small, but compared to everything else at the time, it was big and it made him famous. Because what I do see is small businesses hire a publicist, maybe not a good one like you, but they hire a publicist. They try to say, well, let me just test this. Let me spend $3,000. And they get on half a dozen talk radio shows in 3 months, a couple of AM talk radio shows, one local TV hit. And in month 4, their revenues are down. They see no measurable way. And then they retrench and they got no benefit out of it. So that's why I tell them, build a community first, that because every single day newspapers are going out of business.
Mm-hmm.
TikTok, social media is going. Let's focus on where there's growth.
Mm-hmm.
But you have a full-time publicity business, so there are different interests there. I want you to tell me why I'm wrong and go a little deeper into this interplay of strategy of how much time, money, effort should people be investing in essentially creating their own media channels versus trying to get publicity in other people's media channels, whether it's a traditional media outlet like the Asheville Times or a new media outfit like TechCrunch, something like that.
So you have to have a social media following regardless, because if people go to your Instagram account and you're not posting, well, they're going to think you're not in business. So you need to have a social media following. Building a robust following that's engaged is a long-term strategy. It's going to take time and it's going to take money, right? Why I really value PR is you could literally, if you have 1,000 followers on Instagram, you could go on your local morning news, 3 minutes, reach 2 million people, and you're in front of other audiences, right? Like there was a mom that had a cookie company in Texas and she just had her website and had no sales. And her one TV segment, because of her story, brought in $12,000. So I'm seeing local media convert extremely well when it comes to brands or people that have a heartfelt story. Typically more though on it's easy to buy cookies. Now, if you're a business coach, sometimes that's harder because everyone loves cookies and it's easy to buy cookies. But if you're trying to sell your services, that's a little harder. But I believe that
it's very easy for me to ask my daughter hey, should we buy some cookies? These look good. That's an easy sell.
That's an easy sell.
It's very hard for me to say to my daughter or anyone else in my family, hey, let's buy some professional business consulting for $6,000 a month. That's a harder sell.
Yeah. So I've seen people like Regina Bonds, for example. She had an Instagram account, but from publicity, her business grew by 40%. And it was really just her Instagram account. It was a mixture of reaching new people, reaching new audiences, integrating the media logos into her Instagram account, into her marketing. People that were on the fence of working with her started working with her. She had a higher sense of confidence. She had a higher sense of credibility and street cred. She gained confidence. So it's a mixture of, getting in the media, but then, what do you do with the media to scale your business? And she did increase her prices over time because she was in more of a demand.
Tell me about the success story you're proudest of. Not necessarily the most profitable client, but the person you took, they were here and you worked with them for, a year or two, however long. You got this outlet, this hit, built to this, and now their business is here.
Yeah. I mean, it would be anything from, like a consumer brand, a beverage, of hard kombucha, In 16 months' time, 84% of all the media mentions for all the brands in their category was that brand. When we first started working together, just had distribution at retailers in Washington, California, and Arizona. They went national. They had an exit, which was exciting, right? They were bought by another company, and that growing that consumer demand and interest. I remember when Press Would Go Live, I'd posted on the founder's LinkedIn page, and the amount of engagement, like hundreds of comments on his interviews supporting him. It helped him behind the scenes having conversations, which was incredible. Or even someone like Regina Bonds, who we started out with local media, blogs, syndicated blogs, articles, radio, just that layering effect. And then 4 months later, article on Martha Stewart, another month later, the Today Show. So it's definitely the building approach, but now Regina is paying for like she gets paid to speak, right? Like the media always wants her on. Her business grew by 40%. So here are two different examples of
back to the, is it kombucha? That's a type of tea, if I'm understanding correctly.
Yep.
How do you differentiate that? Because first of all, there's a lot of tea companies, number one. Number two, there are a lot of huge established brands in that market. How do you cut through the clutter? I mean, I have experience working with Sambazon,
Nice.
media training for them, but they were sort of their own new category. In a sense, you could say that's easier. How did you get something for a category which in some ways is established? How are you able to get the media to pay attention and come up with a different story?
It was consistency. It was pitching the media every single week. It was looking at trending topics. It was building out awareness days. National Nutrition Month is in March. Let's look at the health benefits of probiotics. In June, it's Wildfire Awareness Week. And the name was Flying Embers because they almost burned down in Ojai. So it's just always creating stories and always being proactive instead of reactive and having a plan. And it's that consistency piece.
Mm-hmm. Janice writes in and says, what an inspiring entrepreneurial journey, living in an Airstream while starting out, Heather. And thanks to me for bringing you on today. Well, thanks, Heather, for joining us today. And by the way, Airstream is considered like a Rolls Royce of trailers. Are you still living in the Airstream, or you keep that as a guest house, or what do you do?
So we have it on our property. We ended up in North Carolina. We live on 2 acres, and then we have 22 acres where we're building a homestead. But once I became pregnant and had Rose, and now we have Rose and Benaya, who Rose will be 2 in June and Benaya will be 1 in June. We had to get a home. So it's just on our land with us.
Well, it's a beautiful area, and many people who know me will laugh because they'll find this shocking. I actually cleared brush in the lands near you in Morganton back in the 1970s. We were building a Boy Scout camp, Camp Grimes, named after the late Gene Grimes. There's a Boy Scout camp for the Boy Scouts in Charlotte, North Carolina, where I grew up, in your area, and I helped build the camp with other scouts, and still remember that and have fond memories of it. So very pleasant area, and always nice to be back to North Carolina, whether it's the Asheville area and Charlotte, which I'm going to this Friday. So I'll be back not too far away from you.
Yeah.
Nice part of the world. We do live in a time where if you're a great publicist, people don't care if you live in the North Pole. When I started out in the 80s, I mean, my only thought was, well, I live in North Carolina. I just graduating from Duke. I have to go to New York City because that's where all the PR firms. And I did, and I loved it. But you don't have to do that anymore. You can live anywhere.
Right.
How has that been? And what are the strengths and the weaknesses of living where you are, dealing with national media people, competing with publicists who can take producers out to lunch and buy them drinks if they work right down the street from 6th Avenue and down the street from Good Morning America and the Today Show?
Yeah. So definitely with the pandemic and everything, things have evolved. There's been a lot of consolidation of media companies, a lot of writers working from home. So that has changed. Desk sides used to be really popular. Media is way more now that we're in a Zoom virtual world, if you will, like media members are way less committal, meaning that they used to be way more, yes, I'll do this press tour or desk side, and they're a lot more resistant or say no. So that's changed. I do think because we focus and partner with purpose-driven brands, media trusts us, or they know we're really working with people and businesses that are making a difference. So I do think that, makes a difference. Yes, I have media that I've literally worked with for over 12 years, and I'm so thankful. But we've just had to find different ways to build relationships. So a lot of it, honestly, is through social media and finding those common connections that way.
Some of our audience, especially the ones watching this on replay, they're rewinding. Oh, wait a minute. How do you keep a client for 12 years, especially in a field like PR? Now, I have a lot of respect. I've worked full-time, long time ago in PR. I deal with PR people. I'm a part of the PR world in the sense that PR people hire me to do media training for a day.
Mm-hmm.
But I can tell you, I do think PR is a very tough job for a lot of people because people think, oh, you're Samantha from Sex and the City and you're going to parties all the time. And that's just completely irrelevant for the most part for 99% of PR. But what I've always noticed with PR people is, you can spend 6 months trying to get someone a placement. You get the front page profile of the Wall Street Journal
Yeah.
or Barron's. And 24 hours later, the client is like, how come you don't have me on 60 Minutes? I mean, they always want more.
Yeah.
There's so many variables you can't control as far as, certain media people will promise you, they'll do the interview, swear to you it's coming out, and then poof, the producer involved or the editor or the writer involved was fired or left. It disappears. And it's a very, very tough profession. And what a lot of firms do, especially here in New York City, I won't mention the name, but a very, very big one where the founder just died in the last few years. It was nice enough to blurb my book, Media Training AZ. I don't want to trash him. But they're notorious for the big name guy gets the big famous clients.
Mm-hmm.
And with his name, they bring in, and it's a very famous PR firm. They're able to bring in hundreds of other clients who can say, well, I now have the same PR firm as, and they mentioned a very famous person.
Mm-hmm.
And they pawn that assignment off to a 23-year-old and told, just get placements. We're going to measure you by the stack of placements you get. And they sign them to 6-month contracts. And at the end of the 6 months, I've heard countless people say, yeah, it was a famous firm. We only paid $5,000 a month. We were only locked in for 6 months, but we got 2 small placements or 0 placements in 6 months. And then they quit. But it doesn't, as a business model, they churn so many in and around, they're making millions. It sounds like you have the opposite. How do you keep a client for 13 years? How do you keep from not getting sick of them, number one?
Yeah.
And how do you monitor their expectations? Because we're all human. You get me on the Today Show today, I'm thinking, well, she's going to get me on 60 Minutes tomorrow, and it doesn't necessarily work that way.
Yeah, it's hard. Whenever we have client calls, we're always asking, like, what can we do better? What do you like? What don't you like? So we have that as a part of our dialogue, for sure. There's definitely things that happen that are out of our control, finances, priorities change, and all those things. But we really try to have like those direct questions on our client calls, like directly asking our clients and everything.
Mm-hmm. What keeps your clients awake at night? I mean, if you're a bigger company and you're all dependent on your founder who's 90 years old getting publicity, the founder goes, it's gone. Mm-hmm. Are they worried that they have a huge presence on TikTok and, oh my gosh, TikTok might not be available in the United States next year? What is their biggest concern when it comes to ongoing communications with clients, prospects, the industry?
So for brands that we work with that are like international, 800+ million, it really is brand awareness, or when you poll the market do people know your brand over others? For smaller brands, really, I hear we need to move products off the shelf. It's sales. We want to build our community. We need brand awareness. But I hear sales a lot.
So how do you deal with that? Because I know so many PR firms, publicists, the question they hate more than anything is, okay, I'm a small business. Here's my product.
Mm-hmm.
How can you show me return on investment from other clients? And then how can I hold you accountable after, the first couple of months as we get going? Most publicists I know can't stand that because they like to talk about, well, we're really building the big brand and the mega positioning and the strategy, and I'm not knocking. All those things are important. But for a small business, I mean, if you're a small business with a couple $100,000 in revenue and maybe a couple of freelancers,
Mm-hmm.
every single penny you don't spend goes into your pocket. You can invest in for your family. You can invest in a index fund. It could be getting 10, 15% a year. So people do scrutinize it differently than just a mid-sized bank that
Mm-hmm.
automatically has a line item of $2 million for communications this year.
Sure. So it's everything from tracking web traffic, media impressions, consumer demand, building community size, driving product off the shelves. Those are probably like the most important metrics we look at.
Mm-hmm.
And aligning it with the business initiatives too.
And look, I fail all the time. Everybody has failures. How often do you have a failure where you've got a client, you're getting them good publicity,
Mm-hmm.
it's just not resulting in sales and they can't afford to continue? What do you do in a situation like that?
So a lot of it has to do with their landing page is not optimized, or it's not optimized for Shopify, or they're using PR as their Hail Mary and they're doing nothing else to grow their business. So, right, like we try to have those tough conversations, let them know what infrastructure they need placed, etc. But it still happens. It has happened. I just try to do a better job of asking pre-qualifying questions and then setting expectations, before, signing an agreement.
And does your team help them with these weaknesses? Do you have a team that will rebuild their website, that will handle their email campaigns and get them on MailChimp or ConvertKit? Do you help with all those things, or do you just say, look, you got to do it. Here are 3 vendors we trust?
Yeah. So it's more based on referral partners. For us, we really specialize in earned media with media relations, getting our clients awards, securing micro influencers, and then really looking at local media to drive awareness for local retailers and consumers.
Mm-hmm. How much of your time do you spend literally picking up the phone, pitching a producer or an editor or a writer? And is that even a thing anymore? Is everything all text or email?
Yeah, mostly everything is text and email. And most producers don't want to be called. I will call like when we have an event and we're working with local media, or we are trying to get media to come to an event, right, to get photos. That's typically when I call the newsroom, when it's event based, but everything else typically is like text and email.
Mm-hmm. And is the right text at the right time with a strong hook in the first 10 words what's most effective, or what really generates bookings most effectively?
It's really just getting them to respond to our initial interest, and then from there going deeper into the story.
Mm-hmm. Okay. In a moment now, I'm going to ask you to pitch away. A lot of talk shows, a lot of blogs, a lot of communities on Facebook say, oh, no pitching, no pitching. We're the opposite here. We're here. This is the TJ Walker Success Show. We're all about helping people become more successful by improving their communication skills and by improving their confidence in their communication skills, specifically spoken communication.
Mm-hmm.
So many people are nervous, even PR consultants, about talking about why people should hire them, why they're great, what's unique about them. And here we embrace that. So what I want to do is have you pitch away. I want you to, before the pitch starts, define who is your target prospect? Who is your target client? You are not after a college student who self-published a book who has no money. That's not your client. define for us your client, your ideal client prospect. And then imagine they're sitting right here. It's a one-on-one conversation, and you can just talk to them for 2 minutes because you've already introduced each other, and they say, so tell me about your firm and what you do and how you could help me. That's the scenario. So I'm going to get off camera, give you a couple of minutes to pitch away anything you want. You talk about your website, your new software as a service, anything, it's up to you. Ladies and gentlemen, here is Heather Holmes.
So I'm Heather Holmes, and I'm the founder of Publicity for Good. We are a purpose-driven communications firm where we make you become an industry leader. We have been in the space for over 9 years, and I've been a publicist for almost 13 years. And we are obsessed with partnering with mission-driven brands. So that is consumer brands that you would find at the grocery store, or individuals and influencers who have a story and are trying to make a difference in the media. We really specialize in media relations. So when we partner with you, we do get media interest in the first 30 days. We make you become an industry leader. We also work with micro influencers and manage your awards. We partnered with more than 300 brands. We work in every English-speaking country. So if you dream of becoming an internationally known brand or voice, we can help you. And because we're so passionate about making PR accessible to purpose-driven brands and people and businesses, it typically is $5K or above to invest in PR services. It is a premium price. It is a premium experience. But we realize not everyone has thousands of dollars to invest in PR. So that's why we created Raptor. Raptor is service first with a software where you are getting the support of a PR agency. We're pitching you every single week. We're sending your product to a micro influencer. We're writing an article once a month. You also get access to a community where we're bringing on experts. You get that mastermind component. And that's 80% of what your typical investment would be for a PR firm. So we're really passionate about helping you scale your business, your community, and reach more people through publicity. And this is our mission. We've been doing this for, company. We've been around for almost 9 years. We're going to keep doing it. And the best way to reach out is through publicityforgood.com or to find me on social media. And then in the show notes will be all the direct links if you need anything, if you want to do a free discovery call as well.
Heather, great job. We appreciate that pitch. Let's turn the tables a little. What questions would you ask you if you were looking for a publicist yourself? Let's say your software business has taken off so much. You've got an investor, you've got venture capitalists giving you billions of dollars because they're convinced this is going to be a $1 billion industry. You're now spending all your time running a high-tech industry. And even though you could do the PR, you just don't have the time, and nor do you have the time to manage it. You want to actually hire a PR firm. What questions would you ask PR firms pitching your business?
It would be everything around, give me examples of other brands or companies or tech companies that you've done PR for. It would be really understanding your metrics and what you track. It would be looking at case studies as well. And then it would be really understanding what success looks like to the agency when they partner with brands and clients.
Mm-hmm. And where are the easy spots to poke holes in? Because I've worked with hundreds of PR firms all over the world. Mm-hmm. And a lot of them are my best friends, wonderful people, and great to go out and have a drink with. But a lot of them, after they've been in the industry for 15 years, don't want to pitch, whether it's by phone or text. They just don't enjoy pitching journalists anymore. They want to sit back and talk strategy and concepts and messaging, and they lose that fire in the belly. I don't want to be ageist and say never trust a publicist over 38, but do you notice differences in PR people who've been in a long time? What's the difference of those who keep their edge versus those who want to coast?
There's a lot of people that run agencies that don't even love PR and don't pitch anymore. I would say That's like 80%
Yeah.
of the industry.
Okay.
Like
That's a high number, but it does not surprise me. And I'm not asking either one of us to name names, but buyer beware, shall we say.
And that's part of the reason why we're building the infrastructure around me, because what am I best at is that I'm world class at PR and getting people in the media. And my favorite days are studying and getting better and perfecting my craft. So it allows me to coach the team better, because if I'm sending a pitch out and I'm not getting responses, well, then I have clarity and I have feedback from my experience to help my team, right? Like things happen in the news, and like not everything is black and white. So when I'm able to do it alongside my team, I'm able to coach and redirect and, be a consistent student to better serve our clients and come up with tricks and all those things. So I'm obsessed with the psychology of media relations and pitching, and the whole framework behind it. So
who do you think is an example of a business leader who gets publicity? Who do you think does it right? Who do you really admire or respect as someone who's just has a business? I don't mean a media person like Oprah, but someone who has some kind of a business, and you just constantly see them out in the media being interviewed, promoting their brand. Who do you respect the most, or one of the people you respect the most doing that?
Yeah, there was a founder of a beverage brand, and she's not the founder anymore, but the brand's called Hint Water, and the founder was Kara Golden, and her publicity was so good about the hero's journey and building the brand and her personal story. So it was such an incredible job talking about from her working at AOL to where she was now. So her publicity probably has been my favorite over the years, because it's very much been profiling her as a leader, the hero's journey.
Who were your heroes growing up in terms of people in the media, speakers, spokesperson? I mean, I grew up in North Carolina, and one of my heroes, people will find this amusing if they know me well, but one of my heroes was Jesse Helms, not because I liked his politics, but because I was a former U.S. Senator, but because his rise to power was by being a TV commentator, radio commentator, and newspaper columnist. And I found that fascinating. But that's way before your time. Tell me who your role models were growing up as a communicator.
When I was in Columbus, Ohio, and I lived there for 27 years, there was a local TV station, Channel 10, and there was a woman named Angela Pace, and she was in charge of community affairs. So every charity event she covered, every local event she would go to, and that was who I aspired to be. And then I even, in my early 20s, created a blog where I highlighted local businesses making a difference. And then in my early 20s, I was probably 24, and Channel 10 came to my house. They were doing a story on boomerang kids and kids that went to college and then moved home because the job market was so horrible. And it was that interview experience that I was like, I really want to do this. So my favorite vertical has always been local TV, local news, booking guests on the morning show.
Now, that's interesting. Where do you see that going? Because, I grew up in a time when the local news anchors were gods. If you saw someone who was the local news anchor out at a restaurant, you'd be talking about that at school for the next 2 weeks. That was more exciting than seeing the most famous movie star. Now, I could walk down the street and pass every single news anchor in South Florida, which is the 6th largest media market in the country. I wouldn't recognize a single one of them, because I'm like a lot of people. I'm a news junkie, but I haven't watched local TV news in years and years and years. Their ratings are plummeting. Their ad base is plummeting. It's kind of dying, isn't it?
It is, but I still think there'll be local media, and a lot of people are building their following with Instagram. So that's where I find all the influence comes into play.
Do you predict the rise of independent local journalists who are not associated with the traditional media, TV station, radio station, newspaper, being able to create enough of a following through Instagram, through a YouTube daily show, where they can actually make a living, because that is one of the problems with social media is it's so much easier to just say you hate some national politician or you love a national politician to build audience. Whereas if you're just talking about some, local school board official, it's very hard to get anyone to pay attention. Therefore, it's almost impossible to monetize it. And newspapers could do it in the past because they had all the classified ad revenue, which is now all gone to Craigslist.
Yeah.
So do you see a possibility for local reporters / journalists / talk show hosts to be their own thing and making it independent of traditional media?
No, I see more of it on like the influencer side, not necessarily connected to a media company, people starting their own channels and getting their own followers that way and then monetizing it.
Well, I guess that's really what I'm asking. Is it going to be possible to be an influence? Let's say your old town, Columbus, Ohio. I forgot where they are in the media market, 53rd or something like that. Is it going to be possible for someone to just say, I'm going to be a Columbus community influencer and I'm going to post on Instagram what's going on in our community. And I'm going to do a live show on YouTube and social media every day and interview mayors and city council people of what's going on. And I'm going to cover the parade and frankly do a lot of things that local TV and newspapers used to do. And I'm going to review the biggest live show, Broadway style show coming to town. Will it be possible for someone to do that and make, let's say, $80,000 a year? Because from what I see, unless they really specialize in some narrow niche, and even then it's got to be international. I mean, makeup is an international niche. Can someone focus on local news and make $80,000 a year in most communities in America?
So, I mean, they would need to have a revenue stream, whether they're making money through Amazon or selling products or selling ebooks or those things. So they would need to be able to sell something to make money.
But can they do it with an audience as small as most local audiences tend to be? That's the bigger issue. You can monetize audiences if you get a certain enough size. But if you're in Columbus, Ohio, no offense to Columbus, there's plenty of authors who probably have some book on gardening who live in Columbus.
Right.
But you do a whole show, maybe you sell one book on Amazon, you get 89 cents. That's not going to pay the bills. Is there a sustainable way for them to do that?
So they need to have a separate business where they're selling a product on Etsy or they're selling an ebook. Or they're promoting products on Amazon and they're bringing in affiliate money, but they need to have physically another infrastructure in place to bring in revenue.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what the solution is. I'm not in favor of turning back the clock and saying Craigslist can't exist, but I do think it's very difficult for communities, for people to know what's going on, and whether their local school board is ripping them off or doing a good job. It's harder to find out about that because there's no local media. We've had a couple of people write. Mary says, hey, Heather, how can you encourage a new generation to be entrepreneurs? How do you market your business when it was a startup? Now, you've covered the last part some, and Mary, that'll be available on demand. But specifically the question of a new generation being entrepreneurial, because we do live in a time, I'm thinking of specifically the book Anxious Generation by Jonathan Haidt, where he talks about young people today are coddled to such a degree where their parents are preventing them from failing at all. You're not even allowed to walk across the street anymore. That's seen as dangerous. Your parents want to minimize every single risk. Well, being an entrepreneur is inherently risky. So to Mary's question, how can people, and what are you doing in particular to encourage a new generation of entrepreneurs? And just quickly, I see Modi has wrote in, says best views on URL. That looks like a spam. And module, I only point out, if you want to promote a channel you're doing, you can, but this channel is all about spoken communication. So simply putting a URL, that we don't pay attention to. But thanks for stopping by. Now, Heather, to Mary's question about encouraging new generations of entrepreneurs.
So it would really be, you have to connect them with other entrepreneurs, give them content, show them Instagram accounts of other entrepreneurs who are doing the thing too. But it's really, surrounding them with resources and people to follow, maybe taking them to a local conference, finding another teen entrepreneur. It's really about getting them involved in those communities to be inspired about what's possible.
Mm-hmm. And how do you connect with no offense to my people from North Carolina and Morganton in particular, but it's not known as a hotbed of entrepreneurialism. I think there are a lot of school teachers there, farmers, lawyers, doctors, all needed by society. But how do you personally find connections with other entrepreneurs where you can have face-to-face conversations?
I mean, I go to a lot of trade shows. I travel a lot. It's really through building a social media presence. I've built a lot of really good friends with entrepreneurs that way. And then a lot of it is just referrals, like taking care of our clients and getting referrals as well. But I don't really your success now with virtual. You can literally build a social media following or get in the media and build a brand no matter where you live.
Mm-hmm. Great points. I want to end, it's really kind of a two-part complex question. I want to give you all the time you're willing to spend with us. We appreciate you going into overtime with us here and want to be respectful of your time. But it's a two-part question. What technology platform are you most excited about that is either just started or is coming, whether we think of it as the next TikTok or whatever it is? What platform? The other thing is, what technology are you most excited about for communication? For me, and something we've spent a lot of time talking about in just the last 4 weeks on this channel, is digital clones. I see that, frankly, as the absolute most transformational communication tool of the last 30 years. I spent a lot of time building my communication, my AI digital clone, and there's going to be video coming to it soon, possibly even in the next 4 to 6 weeks. But I want to hear from you again. What platform are you most excited about, and what communications technology are you most excited about?
Sure. So really, we're going all in on AI, figuring out how we can utilize it to streamline things, make it better, create brand personas, and all of those things. I absolutely feel like it can, maximize the creativity of what you create for your clients and yourself and your business, right? Which is incredible. On the communication technology side, I don't have enough, I think, context or knowledge to answer that question. But definitely AI. We're very excited about AI.
Okay. Well, you know what? I wasn't planning on doing this, but you're here. If I could pick your brain for a minute, because I do have my own clone, and I'm using it for a lot of different purposes. My clone has been fed every online course I've ever done, more than 100 communication skills courses. And it has been fed every book I've read. It will be fed this interview itself.
Nice.
And it will only pull from my voice as far as attributing anything to me. It would not use your ideas associated with me.
Yeah.
So one of the things that I've written about extensively and have online courses on is a very specific skill set of creating sound bites. So I haven't done this publicly for anyone else, but let's just try it, if you don't mind, right here. And I'll get your honest assessment. So one of the things I teach people in a day of media training is a process of how to turn a message point into a soundbite. A message point, of course, can be a straightforward idea, but it could be bland, generic, unquotable. Sound bites, quotes, and I use those terms interchangeably, I find typically come from one of 10 speech patterns. They've got analogies, pop culture references, cliches, attacks, absolutes, emotion. I have 10 things that I find fit. So what I have started doing with my own digital clone, is to figure out specific ways someone can access it to find a useful meaning. So let me go ahead and bring up the clone a minute. And let me bring both of us in. So I'm going to, if you don't mind, I'm going to see if I can I want your honest, independent analysis of its ability to turn a message into a usable soundbite that you could use in a press release, or that you could actually use as talking points for a client about to do a show.
Nice.
So let's go ahead and we're going to call my clone, and I'll ask it the question.
Hi, I'm TJ's clone. How may I help you?
TJ, I need help with creating some sound bites. I am putting out a press release to promote my business, and I'll be doing talk shows. I have a publicity firm. It's called Publicity for Good. My message is that our firm is going to work harder for you to generate lots and lots of consistent publicity tied to your return on investment, not just for vanity purposes. That's my message. I would like you to give me at least 10 sound bites on that message. And in most of these sound bites, I would like to have multiple sound bite elements. If you could give that to me now.
Absolutely. Let's craft some powerful sound bites for your press release and talk shows. Here are 10 sound bites that emphasize your firm's dedication to generating consistent publicity tied to return on investment. 1, at Publicity for Good, we don't just chase headlines. We deliver measurable results that boost your bottom line. 2, our mission is simple: relentless publicity that translates into real ROI for your business. 3, we turn media exposure into tangible growth, ensuring every mention counts towards your success. 4, Publicity for Good is your partner in achieving sustained media presence that drives profitability. 5, we focus on strategic publicity that aligns with your financial goals, not just vanity metrics. 6, our team is committed to generating consistent, impactful publicity that enhances your ROI. 7, with Publicity for Good, your media coverage is a powerful tool for business growth, not just a fleeting moment of fame. 8, we work tirelessly to ensure your brand gets the attention it deserves with a clear focus on return on investment. 9, our approach to publicity is all about creating lasting value and measurable success for your business. 10, Publicity for Good transforms your media presence into a strategic asset that drives long-term profitability. Now let's take this a step further. How about
hang on.
practicing?
TJ, that wasn't bad, but I want you to be even more creative. I want you to go completely over the top. This is for People Magazine. This is for USA Today. I want you to be even more colorful. And this time I only want 3 sound bites, but after you give each one, I want you to tell me what soundbite element was in it and why you think it would be quoted.
All right, let's go all out and make these sound bites pop for People Magazine and USA Today. Here we go. Publicity for Good is the rocket fuel your brand needs to soar past the competition and land on the moon of success. This soundbite uses bold action words and an analogy. The imagery of rocket fuel and landing on the moon makes it vivid and memorable, ensuring it grabs attention and sticks in the reader's mind. With us, your brand won't just make headlines, it will become the headline everyone talks about at the water cooler. Here, we have a pop culture reference and a bold action word. The idea of being the talk of the water cooler is relatable and paints a picture of widespread buzz, making it highly quotable. Forget fleeting fame. We turn your media presence into a legacy that echoes through time. This sound bite employs an absolute and an emotional appeal. The concept of a legacy that echoes through time is grand and dramatic, making it stand out and resonate deeply with readers. Now let's put these into practice.
TJ, switching gears. Last question. Let's switch gears. Now I need sound bites, just 3 of them, for Barron's Magazine. My readership is very, very sophisticated mutual fund managers who are either billionaires or work for billionaires. So it's got to be sophisticated, nothing cheesy here. Give me 3 great sound bites on this same message.
Publicity for Good is your strategic partner in transforming media exposure into substantial financial growth. This soundbite uses sophisticated language and emphasizes the strategic partnership, making it appealing to high-level financial professionals. Our relentless focus on ROI ensures that every media mention translates into measurable value for your portfolio. Here, the emphasis on ROI and measurable value speaks directly to the financial acumen of your audience, making it highly relevant and quotable. With Publicity for Good, your brand's media presence becomes a powerful asset, driving long-term profitability and market leadership. This soundbite highlights the transformation of media presence into a strategic asset, appealing to the sophisticated nature of your readership. Now, let's
Okay, thank you, TJ. And now I am sincere. I mean, nobody likes to just criticize someone who's had them on their show, but I do want some honest feedback because I had not done that before.
It was cool.
I mean, I did it once for myself trying it, but I hadn't done that before. Give me your honest assessment of whether you think something like that could be helpful.
Mhm.
I wasn't, well, let me just be quiet before I give any opinions. Tell me what you thought
No,
of that.
I think it's great to have a tool that you can talk to and it kind of brainstorms things, which I love. I think it definitely can be used as a good baseline for the work that I'm doing. I'd probably tweak some words, but I mean, starting off, I would give it like an A-. Like, I thought it was great. I think the user experience is great too. You just speak and it creates it for you.
And I should point out, I mean, if you're writing a press release, text is going to be more helpful. The default option is you text, you can write your question or you can speak and it turns it to text and then the answer comes back in text. So if you were looking to have 3 sound bites to go into a speech or a press release, it could all be done on a text basis.
Are you able to get that copy or no, because he didn't type it too?
No. So that's one thing. It would be nice to switch modes to say, hey, thanks for telling me. Now email me what you just did or post it.
Yeah.
But if you ask it the same question, it'll probably give you something similar. So feel free. I mean, I didn't invite you on to promote this. It just sort of came to me.
It was
But
great.
it's right on my YouTube channel, right in the about section. I have it listed in social media. But it's just delphi.ai/TJ Walker, and you'll see my clone. I do think that once the video component comes and you actually see what looks to be the real person talking, that it's going to be transformational, and that anyone seeking publicity, I think, is going to want to have their digital clone. It might not filter out for 5 years to a lot of people. Podcasts have been around a long, long time, and most people didn't have one for 5 years, and then they did the same with YouTube. So it takes a while for technologies to filter out. But I see it as so transformational because unlike a YouTube video, I mean, you and I are having a one-on-one conversation now.
Yeah.
But for everyone else, they just have to kind of receive it unless they happen to be live and typing in a question. But the beauty of these digital clones is you can be anywhere in the world having what feels like and seems like a one-on-one real conversation. Because as you noticed, it didn't give general comments. It took the exact message I gave, the scenario, the company, and filtered all the conversation through the lens of that. I mean, it wasn't thinking, obviously. It's pulling data and reassembling it the way artificial intelligence does, but in a way that's meaningful. And it can do it in any language. Now, I don't have mine set for every language, but I know you mentioned your international. It does introduce the opportunity for any of your clients to be interviewed by any media out in the world in any language, because it can instantaneously translate it. We've had a few more comments coming in. Oh, Rick says, thanks. He tested out the AI coaching and it was pretty useful. Thanks. Hugo says, impressive. Heather, you've been very impressive. I appreciate you sharing your time with us today. So thank you so much. We wish you continued good luck in all of your ventures for all of your clients. Do you have something we can look forward to? Do you have another media appearance planned that where we can find out if we see on your LinkedIn page or other place where we can see you in action?
Oh yeah. Let's see. I'll be on a bunch of podcasts in the coming weeks. I'm gonna start promoting our PR software soon. I'll send you the link to that. I'm really excited for that. And then on a personal level, like in 3 to 4 weeks, I'll have another baby. So if you like
Oh,
babies,
congratulations and good
follow
luck.
me on LinkedIn. We'll have 3 under 3. So that's, I think, is better than being on national news, having another baby. So those are the things ahead that you can follow me and my journey on. And again, we're really passionate about making PR accessible. So I will be sharing details about Raptor on LinkedIn. And if you need help, you want to talk about strategy, you think you're ready for PR, you're not sure, we can always do a free discovery call.
Great. Heather, thank you so much. Again, it's Heather Holmes, CEO of Publicity for Good. We posted the website in the comments and in the show notes as well. Thanks so much. Take care.
Bye.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right. Okay, so that will be the end of our official interview. We're still live now, but just one of the things I like to do is, kind of like movies and stuff afterwards, the closing credits. Anything that you really wish we had done differently there? Anything you wish I'd asked you that we didn't get to? Any way that this interview could have been better for you, frankly?
No, I think this is probably one of my favorite interviews that I've done, transparently, and I've done so many interviews. So no, I have my websites here. We've gotten to answer questions of people. It's on LinkedIn. So I give it a 10.
All right. Well, thanks so much, Heather. Very much appreciate your time. Thanks so much.
Yeah.
I hope to see you again soon. And our team will reach out to you and give you links as this filters out in various forms of content through various social media.
Awesome. Yeah. Thank you so much.
All right. Thanks. Take care.
Bye.
Okay. We're going to take a quick 2-minute break. I will be back in just a moment. Appreciate you staying with us. And Rick, very much appreciate you testing out my AI clone. You mentioned that it was useful. I'd like, if you wouldn't mind, if you're still with us, tell me what you found useful about it. I'd like to know, because I'm trying to figure out how to make it even more useful. If you saw our segment earlier today, I actually had my clone interview me, do a simulated interview, helping me prepare for a fictional job interview. And I thought that was pretty helpful. So I was pleased with that, but I'm always looking for additional uses. So I'm going to run some ads here from the Amazon Influencer Program. Now, you haven't seen those much lately, but I am going to go ahead and run those and give me a couple of minute break, give you a break. When we come back, I'll be taking your questions about communication skills and personal development. So hold on 1 minute. We're going to share a few videos here. So this part will not be live. These will be videos, ads I've done before. And it's not so much that I want you to buy these products, but I do want to give you an example of just very simple talking head ads that you can do.
Hydro Peak Thermos seems like a part.
You can do, anyone can do, if you just turn your camera on. These are all done with a cell phone. Okay, I'll be back in a moment live. We're going to watch these for a few minutes.
Media training online courses. And there are times when I've got to get it word for word just right, whether it's an ad for someone else or my own products or services. That's why I have to use a teleprompter. This one has never failed me. I like the Kirkland water filter cartridges because I drink water all day long and I don't like chlorine taste in my water. Hi, I'm TJ with the TJ Walker Success Channel. I talk for a living. I make videos all day long on YouTube, make online courses, and do speeches and workshops. So I get dried out a lot and quickly. So I'm drinking water all day long. I use these water filter cartridges. I go through them and they continue to do a good job. I've used this brand for many years now, never had a problem. They always fit perfectly. They always work fine. They keep my water tasting fresh and chemical free. So I like these cartridges. If you're looking for cartridges and they fit your water filter, give these a try. This eMart Chroma Key green screen is fantastic. I've used it for literally thousands. You're gonna think I'm making this up. Thousands of videos over the last few years. I'll do production here and sometimes make 100 in a day, and it can look like I'm anywhere. Now, what I like about this green screen is it's got stability to it. There's never any wrinkles. It's huge. It goes down easily. It goes back up. And if you're using a different set, you push it all the way down and you can just put it in a corner. So it really is flexible. It looks great, and it will help make your next production really look first class. I like books, but I don't like them falling down and cluttering up the house and the office. That's why I love these bookends. They don't call attention to themselves. They do one thing. They keep my books nice, neat together and not falling down. I use them on my shelves. They work well at home and the office. If you want to have a neater book collection, you can't go wrong with these bookends. I love seltzer water and sparkling water, but I hate having to go to the store to get it. I don't like more and more bottles for landfill. That's why I love my Soda Stream. I can take regular water and I can make it sparkling. It tastes great. I love it because it fills me up during the day. I'm less likely to snack, but it just tastes good. It's more interesting than plain tap water, and you can make it anytime you want. I get bored drinking plain water, tap water. I love sparkling water, and yet I don't like having to drive to the store constantly, stock up on all those bottles, and then having empties around the house. That's why I love using this SodaSense CO2 cylinder. It works perfectly with my machine that creates tap water and turns it into sparkling water. If you like sparkling water, this CO2 cylinder has done a great job for me. The Stanley stapler is powerful. I mean, don't point.
Okay, we are back live. Hi, I'm TJ Walker. This is the TJ Walker Success Channel. We're all about helping make you more successful in life by boosting your communication skills and boosting your confidence in your communication skills. Yes, that is exactly what we're about. I'm also trying out some new camera angles today. We've changed the set, and we'll go into that in another segment. I'll talk about that maybe tomorrow. Oh, let's be respectful to Heather's audience. She signed in to share, but we're now going to a different segment. So we appreciate Heather's time and her audience. Thanks so much for joining us today. We are live. We've just finished what I found interesting is an interview with Heather Holmes. She is one of the top publicists in the country. And, you know, so often we hear about startups and banks and thousands of employees and all this. She's got 30 people working for her full-time in her PR firm, that's massive in the PR world. Out of thousands of PR firms in the country, that's got to put her in maybe the top 50 in terms of just size. So she's doing something right there as a business. And I just did the interview. I enjoyed it. I liked it, but you know what? Maybe I could do better. Let's ask my own clone how to do a better job with interviews. So I'm going to share a minute. I'm still trying to figure out how to use this communication tool of a digital clone for maximum effectiveness. It's a learning process. I don't have all the answers, but I'm at least starting to have, I think, some of the interesting questions. And I appreciate those of you being on the journey with me. So let's bring in our clone. Let's give it, let's go sort of to equal billing, shall we say. And the clone is ingesting all of my YouTube videos, but this one is still being created. So I can't ask it questions specifically about this, although we could tomorrow. But so the first question I'm going to ask my clone is tips on how to prepare better for doing interviews, for YouTube social media interviews. Let's see what it says.
Hi, I'm TJ's clone. How may I help you?
TJ, I've just started a new social media talk show. It's on YouTube, LinkedIn, Twitch, Instagram, all the social media places. I'm interviewing top communicators in the world, whether they're heads of PR firms or authors or experts or coaches. I'd like some advice from you on how to do a great job with these interviews. I feel like I'm doing a pretty good job, but I need really advanced techniques on how to be a truly great interviewer and a great host of a talk show and a podcast and a social media interview show. Please give me these advanced tips.
To elevate your interviewing skills to the next level, focus on 3 key areas: preparation, active listening, and creating engaging content. First, preparation is crucial. Research your guests thoroughly. Know their work, their achievements, and their unique perspectives. This allows you to ask insightful questions that go beyond the surface level. For example, if you're interviewing an author, read their latest book and reference specific passages. This shows respect and deepens the conversation. Second, active listening is a game changer. Truly listen to your guests' responses and be ready to pivot based on what they say. This creates a dynamic and authentic dialogue. Avoid sticking rigidly to your prepared questions. Instead, follow the natural flow of the conversation. This makes your interviews more engaging and spontaneous. Third, focus on creating engaging content. Think about what your audience wants to hear and see. Ask provocative questions that challenge your guests and elicit thoughtful responses. Use storytelling techniques to make the conversation more compelling. For instance, ask your guests to share personal anecdotes or behind the scene stories that your audience wouldn't hear elsewhere. Now, I want you to practice this. Choose a guest you have lined up.
Oh, we'll come to the
Do a deep
practice in a
dive into-
moment. We'll come to the practice in a moment. Another question, I'm not sure you can handle this or not, but let's test. Yesterday, TJ Walker interviewed Lisa Reed. He has a video on his YouTube channel called Mastering the Art of Speaking Gigs with Lisa Reed. I didn't get to watch it. Can you summarize everything that was talked about in that interview called Mastering the Art of Speaking Gigs with Lisa Reed?
In the interview with Lisa Reed, we delved into the intricacies of mastering speaking gigs. Lisa shared her journey and the pivotal moments that shaped her career as a speaker. We discussed the importance of having a clear, compelling message and how to tailor it to different audiences. Lisa emphasized the need for thorough preparation and the value of rehearsing your speech multiple times to ensure a smooth delivery. We also talked about the significance of storytelling in engaging an audience. Lisa shared some personal anecdotes about how stories have helped her connect with her listeners on a deeper level. Another key point was the importance of understanding
if you don't mind me
your audience's
interrupting, TJ, tell me about one of those anecdotes that Lisa shared. Give me every detail you remember from her most interesting story.
Lisa shared a particularly compelling story about one of her early speaking gigs that really stood out. She was invited to speak at a major conference, and it was a pivotal moment in her career. She described walking onto the stage, feeling the weight of the audience's expectations. She started her talk with a personal anecdote about a time she faced a significant challenge in her life. She said, "I remember standing there looking out at the sea of faces, and I began by telling them about the time I almost gave up on my dream of becoming a speaker." She went on to explain how she had faced numerous rejections and setbacks, but one particular incident was a turning point. She had been preparing for a big presentation, and everything that could go wrong did go wrong. Her slides malfunctioned, her microphone cut out, and she even tripped on stage. She said, "I felt like the universe was conspiring against me. But then I remembered why I started this journey in the first place. I took a deep breath, looked at the audience and said, you know, sometimes life throws you curveballs, but it's how you handle them that defines you." The audience was captivated. She turned that moment of vulnerability into a powerful lesson about resilience and perseverance by sharing her personal struggles and how she overcame them. She connected with the audience on a deeper level. This story not only showcased her ability to engage and inspire, but also highlighted the importance of authenticity and relatability in public speaking. What do you think makes a story compelling?
Wow.
in
So
your
let me
interviews?
stop right there.
Try-
That was a lot better than I could do. Now, I'm not here to tell you that AI is going to put you out of a job in the next 5 minutes or the next 5 months or even the next 5 years, although it is going to happen for some. I'm not suggesting that humans are going to do nothing but lounge about because AI is so much better at everything. That may happen. I don't know if that's 20 years from now or 200 years from now. There are some things humans do better. I mean, I'm assuming I can still give somebody a hug better than a computer that can. But what I just heard right there was so much better than I could do. And I was there. I actually had the interview with Lisa Reed. And yet I'd forgotten a lot of that, shall we say, not because she didn't do a great job. That's just how human memory works typically. And yet the AI clone forgets nothing. Does it occasionally mess up something? I know certainly in general, AI and ChatGPT can make mistakes. I haven't heard many mistakes from mine yet. So I found that
You're absolutely right. The power of AI.
One of the things it's not great at yet is detecting when it's time to continue the conversation, because it doesn't yet instantly stop if I say something. I have to talk over it, which I don't like to do, and then it will stop. So the sensitivity knob isn't quite right just there. But what I'm hoping to do is to be better at what I do, to use my strengths to greater advantage, to help more people using the power of AI. So what I do want to do now is make a video, not an AI video, but actually of me giving people advanced tips on how to prepare for interviews. It told me a minute ago, I want it to give me a quick summary so I can use it as my notes. So TJ, give me a quick summary again of what you just told me of the 3 most important things to do if you're trying to really be great at delivering or at doing interviews on social media and podcasts and things like that. Just a quick summary.
To excel at delivering interviews on social media and podcasts, focus on 3 key areas. First, preparation is crucial. Dive deep into researching your guests. Know their work, achievements, and unique perspectives. This allows you to ask insightful questions that go beyond the surface level. Second, active listening is a game changer. Truly listen to your guests' responses and be ready to pivot based on what they say. This creates a dynamic and authentic dialogue. Third, create engaging content. Think about what your audience wants to hear and see. Ask provocative questions that challenge your guests and elicit thoughtful responses. Use storytelling techniques to make the conversation more compelling. Now, I want you to practice this. Choose a guest you have lined up, do a deep dive into their background, and prepare a list of questions that reflect your research. Record a mock interview.
Okay.
And
you know what? I'm
watch
going
it
to do
back.
this right
What do you-
now. And I'm thinking of this on the fly, folks. This was not great. I'm going to take my AI off the screen, but I'm going to keep it on and ask that it continue listening to me. I'm going to do a master record, and I'm going to try to make this as good of a video as possible on this very subject. And I'm going to then ask my AI to grade me, and we'll figure out what we think. So I'm going to try to do this as more of a traditional long form video that my team will edit it together with with B-roll and images and graphics. We'll try to make it as professional as possible. And let's kill two birds with one stone. Let's make content and let's test the AI. And I guess three birds, because then we're going to get the AI's advice on how to make it even better. So I'm going to go ahead and hit master record. And we've got everything else recording. So I'm just going to hop right in. What do you do if you've got an interview coming up, only you're not receiving the questions? You have to ask the questions. That's right. You now have a podcast. You're now doing an interview show for YouTube or TikTok or some other social media platform. You've got a guest. You're excited, but you don't have a lot of experience of this. How do you really come across as professional? Well, keep in mind these three key things. Number one, preparation. It's not enough to just read a press release or spend 20 seconds looking at their bio on their website. Try to read as much as you possibly can about your guest. Yes, check out their websites, check out their press releases, go to their social media, but also Google search them, check them in Google News, see what other people are saying about them in mainstream media and in social media. Really prepare. Try to find out what is in fact unique about your guest. What's special that this person has that's going to be of unique interest to your audience. So really dive deep. If they have a book, guess what? Read the book. If they have a lot of books, read as many as you can. Now, we can't interview Isaac Asimov anymore, so you're not going to have to read 500 books. But if it's an author you truly respect, go deeper. Don't read just a summary of their latest book. The next thing you've really got to think about is how to listen more effectively in the interview. And I mean active listening. Now, this is difficult when you are doing a podcast interview, especially if it's video. If it's a video podcast or YouTube Live or Facebook Live or any of that, you may be in charge of the technology. You're trying to push buttons. You're trying to push the keyboard. You may be changing different camera angles and trying to figure out, is this the best camera angle? Is this the best camera angle? Is this the best camera angle? You may be looking at audio levels. You may be monitoring comments coming in. You may have a private chat. All of it's important, but guess what? If you're not really paying attention to what your guest is saying, it's not going to be a good interview. Because so often, if you ask the right questions and then just listen, the person you're talking to will say something revealing, interesting, maybe surprising, maybe shocking. If you're so focused on the technology and trying to get the right button and what's the next ad and where are we going to go here, you're going to miss it. And because of that, your interview will come across as rote, as mechanical, like someone who just read through a list of questions. You're going to sound like a robot, and that is not what anyone wants to listen to. So you're going to have to somehow get comfortable enough with all the technology, or have other people try to help you, or just realize, okay, maybe I'm going to miss a comment, and truly, truly listen to what your guest is saying, because you want to really have an antenna for anything that's interesting or confusing. If your guest is saying something confusing to you, well, guess who else it might be confusing to? Your audience. You need to follow up. Your guest might be a great communicator, but they might use acronyms or initials, and you don't know what it stands for. AMA, is that the American Medical Association? Is that the American Management Association? Turns out there are a lot of organizations that have the initials AMA. Don't be afraid to ask your guest exactly what it stands for. That's going to make it more interesting and more powerful. So you've got to actively listen. The other thing is, so many great guests have been on a million talk shows. If they get the sense you're phoning it in and you're not really listening to them, guess what? They will do the same thing to you. They'll give you the same boilerplate stories, examples they've said a million times. They might even sound bored. So you got to give deeper context by asking deeper questions. So the second big thing you've really got to focus on is this active listening. The third thing you've got to do is focus on true engagement. How can you make this content as engaging as possible for your audience? If you're doing it live, then by all means, ask them their questions, ask them to join, ask them to participate. Crowdsource the questions. You're not the only person who can ask good questions. If it's not live, that's okay. Make sure everything you ask is going to be interesting to the audience. Now, it's fine for you to share some of your own personality, but some hosts go too far. They talk about themselves so much that the guest hardly gets a word in edgewise. Your audience wants to hear from your guest. They like new viewpoints. As much as people love Tim Ferriss and his books, The 4-Hour Workweek and The 4-Hour Body and all of those, he knows when he has a guest on, if he has Arnold Schwarzenegger on, people really want to hear from Arnold Schwarzenegger. So yes, Tim will still share examples and anecdotes from his life, but the vast majority of the time is devoted to his guest, in this case, Arnold Schwarzenegger, talking about his life, his stories, his principles to live by that can be meaningful and interesting to the audience. So keep in mind this final tip. Everything you do in the show, in the interview, needs to be looked at through the lens of, does this benefit my audience? Is this information going to be interesting to them or useful to them or entertaining to them or all three? If you focus on these three key principles for your next interview, you will do a fantastic job as a talk show host, as a podcast host. Good luck. Okay, chat. No,
Great job diving into those three key principles.
Okay, great. Thank you for listening to that TJ Walker clone. I would now like a detailed analysis of how I did that segment. And note to editor, when we're putting this together, we're not going to use the clones analysis, although that's an idea for a future segment. In fact, I'll just stop that recording there. Now I want my clone to give a detailed analysis of that video I just did. Again, context for my clone. I was making a video there designed to be the rough draft for a more polished video that would go on YouTube, LinkedIn, social media. That would, I don't know if that was 6-7 minutes. It will be edited. There'll be B-roll, graphics, music put in. And I want this to be useful to people on social media trying to learn communication skills. So with that as the context, I'm now going to bring back our very special guest today, which is the TJ Walker AI clone. So TJ, give an analysis of that video I just made.
Your video segment was strong and packed with valuable insights. Let's break it down. First, your emphasis on preparation was spot on. You highlighted the importance of deep research, which is crucial for any interviewer. Your advice to read the guest's book and explore their social media and news mentions adds depth and shows respect for the guest's work. This sets a solid foundation for a meaningful conversation. Second, your point about active listening was well articulated. You stressed the need to focus on the guest's responses despite the technical distractions. This is vital because it ensures the interview remains dynamic and engaging. Your example of clarifying acronyms and following up on confusing points was practical and relatable. Third, your focus on engagement was excellent. You underscored the importance of making the content interesting for the audience, which is key to retaining their attention. Your mention of involving the audience in live sessions and balancing personal anecdotes with guest insights was a great touch. One area for improvement could be to incorporate more specific examples or anecdotes from your own experiences. This would add a personal touch and make your advice even more relatable. Additionally, consider varying your tone and pacing slightly to maintain audience interest throughout the video.
Well, let me ask
Overall,
a question
your
on
segment
that.
was
Let
informative.
me ask a question about that. Are you saying you thought I was monotone there? Because I do think that I varied my tone. And my understanding is at this point, you as a is a digital clone are not able to analyze my voice. Am I correct in that, or has there been a feature added I'm unaware of?
You're correct. As of now, I can't analyze your voice for tone or inflection. My feedback is based on the content and structure of your message.
Okay.
However, from what you described, it sounds like you did a great job varying your tone. Keep focusing on that dynamic delivery. It makes a huge difference in keeping your audience engaged. Now let's take this a step further. Record another segment where you share
Hang on a
personal
second there.
anecdote related to
I like where you're
interviewing.
going, TJ Clone, but let's hang on just a minute. Are there any other things you would comment on? Anything at all that you noticed from my message, sentence structure, word choice that you think could be improved based on your analysis?
Your message was clear and well structured, but there are a few areas where you could enhance your delivery. First, consider varying your sentence length more. Mixing shorter, punchier sentences with longer, more detailed ones can create a more engaging rhythm.
Now, let me ask you.
This variation helps
hang on. That's good general advice. Are you saying you specifically analyzed my sentence structure as I just gave it and my sentences were too long? Is that what you're saying?
No, I didn't specifically analyze your sentence structure for length. My feedback was more general. Your delivery was clear and engaging.
Right.
However,
all right, so
varying sentence length can enhance the rhythm.
We'll have to sign off there. But I'm partially pleased by that. And I partially see that as there's still a lot of room for improvement, because if I want specific advice to what I did, I was hoping it could tell based on where I paused if in fact I did have too long sentences, but it was giving generic advice. And generic advice it's not as useful. There's no doubt about it. But it does bring up the issue of, would a clone like this be useful to have in the background to analyze every YouTube video I make or you make, every Zoom meeting that you make? And now I'm trying to think, if I had that on a Zoom, I've got a sales call later today with a prospect. Could I have my clone on listening to the whole? I wouldn't want it to interrupt when there's a pause and then start giving me analysis during the call. Although in theory, I guess I could play the video after the fact and ask my clone to give feedback on how I did. I may in fact do that. It does boggle the mind, all the uses of the clone. I see that Eric has joined us. Eric, glad you're with us, one of our longtime students and community members. Eric, you posted a video. Can you tell me what it's about? If it's you speaking on something and you want me to show it to everyone, let me know. You posted it in a private chat. I want to be respectful to people. If you are on our platforms, most places there's an option for a private chat and the comments seen publicly. Sometimes people want to send me a private chat and I want to respect that. So since I don't know, I'll err on the side of protecting your privacy. But Eric, if you want to come on screen and talk to us, we're basically overtime now, but I'll take a moment. Or if you want to say in the chat what it is. Eric, did you want to come on? I'll just add you to a moment. Eric, was this a video of you speaking? Did you want to critique, or what is the video of?
It's mostly a clip from a movie.
Okay, and is it about someone communicating that you think would be relevant to the audience, or is it just for nothing wrong with entertainment? Is it just for entertainment purposes?
I mean, it's kind of both.
Okay.
Like someone impersonates a celebrity in this movie, and it kind of creates, I'd say, like a bad image, I think.
Okay. Now, I did see this. Yeah, thank you for sending it. Here's my only qualm about it, in that it is funny, and I love The Naked Gun, and I love Leslie Nielsen. I had to be very careful about showing any clip from a Hollywood movie, because their lawyers will write to YouTube and they'll say, bad old TJ is stealing our copyright. please ban his channel or demonetize that video. And it makes it very, very complicated. Have I ever done it? Yes. Things like the Academy Awards, I'll show clips, give commentary. And what's happened lately in the last year with YouTube is it sets off an algorithm. The company, NBC Universal or someone will say, hey, this guy's stealing our content, and it's just a computer talking to another computer. YouTube will then automatically tell me there's been a charge of basically copyright violation of your content, and you can appeal it. And if you do, they'll have to make the case as to why you stole their property. You can escalate the appeal, and if you lose, it's a severe punishment, and you're one step away from having your channel removed. And that's happened to me before. Now, what has happened in the last year is this has happened maybe 3 times because I'm using a movie clip or something. So I'll do it, or I was analyzing Taylor Swift's communication skills at an Emmy Awards earlier this year. So it's gone through this back and forth. Then I make the case that I'm not stealing the content. I'm using this for fair use because my picture was on the screen the whole time. I'm analyzing their speaking skills. I'm transforming the original purpose. The purpose is not for someone to listen to Taylor Swift's music and enjoyment and me profit from it. The purpose was to have an educational moment for people to learn about public speaking. And for this, presumably, I could make the point of Leslie Nielsen. I'm talking about him not to be funny and get laughs from him, but to talk about his communication skills. But since I don't yet know the communications angle, I don't know how to do it. And what it would mean is this particular show we just did with our guest would be not visible for the next 30 days. I would have to go through that whole appeals process. So sorry to have to talk about that, but that's why, in fact. But always happy to look at any clips anyone wants to send me, especially if it's a clip of you speaking and you want feedback on your communication skills. I want to thank everyone for joining me today. Our fantastic guest, Heather Holmes, who was with us, Janet for stopping by, Eric, and everyone else. I'm TJ Walker. I'll see you tomorrow. Thanks.